Hey team, welcome back to another episode of the Strength Game Podcast. I'm your host, Nick O'Brien, and this is episode number 49. The Strength Game is a weekly podcast dedicated to discussing all things physical culture with the coaches, athletes, iron enthusiasts, and experts deeply embedded in the strength game on both sides of the profession, both as coaches and as competitive athletes. I want to thank everyone who has liked, shared, and commented and continues to subscribe to the show. Your support allows us to continue to bring on expert guests and highlight more individuals in the strength game, just like our guest today. I also want to thank our sponsor, Cerberus Strength. Owned and operated by active lifters, Cerberus is trusted by the top strength sport athletes and lifters in the world. Cerberus's wide range of products are made by athletes for athletes, truly living up to its moniker, made by the strong for the strong. From sandbags, training gear, and supplements, to lifting straps, knee sleeves, and more, Cerberus Strength provides the highest quality strength products on the market, designed and manufactured to help you defeat, destroy, and devour your competition. If you're in the market for the highest quality strength conditioning gear and equipment, be sure to use promo code STRENGTH_GAME at checkout to receive 10% off your next order at CerberusStrength.com. And in this week's episode, I'm joined by Coach Brandon Bullett. Brandon is the head coach and owner of Bullett Performance Training in Clovis, California. Brandon opened Bullett Performance Training in 2016 while also working as an assistant coach for the Fresno Monsters hockey team and leading their strength conditioning program. Since opening, Brandon has also worked with Memorial, Kerman, and Buchanan high school baseball teams. Prior to starting the semi-private training facility, Brandon was a strength conditioning coach at Game Time Training and has completed strength conditioning certifications under Mike Boyle, as well as been a mentee to Eric Cressey. Brandon played college hockey at Syracuse University before moving to the West Coast to play in the Western States Hockey League. After winning the Thorne Cup with the Phoenix Polar Bears, he was drafted into the professional hockey and finished his playing career with the Mississippi RiverKings of the Southern Professional Hockey League in 2012. Following his professional career, he continues to stay and train heavily while coaching and running his own business, in addition to playing rec hockey and picking up golf now. Like I said, I'm excited to have him on the show today. So with all that said, let's get in the game with Coach Brandon Bullett. What's going on, everybody? Today, I am joined by a good friend of mine, former West Coast guy, right in my area and right in my backyard in Fresno, Coach Brandon Bullett. What's going on, man?
Oh, not much, just hitting the gym this morning, getting ready for the day. I got a couple of teams coming in today and then our normal clientele and, just attacking the day like we always do.
There you go. I like to hear it. It's good. I'm excited to catch up with you. I haven't talked to you in a bit, and I know you got a lot of stuff going on right now. But first, for everybody kind of new, I want to get right into it, like what you actually got, how you got involved in the strength game, like what sports you played growing up, leading into kind of your current training now.
Sure. Growing up, kid from back east, actually from Syracuse, New York. We grew up playing in the backyard. Every single sport you could get your hands on: soccer, football, basketball, baseball. I tried a lacrosse stick a couple of times. Wasn't very good at it. I just couldn't nail it down. Golf, stuff like that, just trying to dabble in everything and try and see what I liked, what I was good at, what I was competitive in. So played a little bit of everything, going up through high school, middle school, high school ranks. I focused more on baseball and basketball. And then once I got into high school, a little bit more on just baseball and some hockey. I started hockey a little bit later in life, towards the normal lifestyle of a hockey player. Usually, 3 or 4 years old, you're putting on some skates. I was 10 years after that, about 14, 15, I started putting on a pair of skates and then caught on very quick. Ended up taking hockey on and played a little bit of college baseball before. And I was graduating in high school in 2007. And then I went right to junior college out of high school. And then I still played some hockey on the side. About midway through my second year in college, I said, I want to try this hockey thing. So I ended up moving to Bakersfield, playing some junior hockey, and then signed a pro contract out of junior hockey, and then played about 3.5 years of hockey, pro hockey in the minor leagues, all through like single A, double A level, bounced around a little bit. And that's kind of how I made my way out here to Fresno.
That's crazy. Yeah. Cause now, for those that don't know, like a lot of the people that you end up working with now are a lot of high level baseball guys, a lot of high school baseball teams and stuff. You still work with hockey programs. I know you got the Fresno Monsters in the backyard, like getting ready to come in today as well. But it's cool to see that you just gave it a run for your money from the hockey side, even though like baseball was where you're going, and you're still working with a lot of baseball guys now. So what was kind of like your first introduction into coaching? Were you starting to get involved in that a little bit like during your pro career, or what kind of sparked your interest to get involved in that and then now kind of shift towards baseball a lot more?
Yeah. So actually I started lifting weights with some buddies back when I was about 14, 15. Just, your regular old Planet Fitness membership and going and following some Arnold, following some bodybuilding stuff, Christian Thibodeau, just your real, not old timers, but just kind of your standard bodybuilding type. And then I kind of got into, I'd say, a little bit more of, what's regarded as sports performance today, or, throwing med balls, and we're sprinting a little bit. I was in high school and college baseball. I tried out for high school football one year and didn't make it. It was kind of just testing the waters. So I kind of got into the sports performance style back in, I'd say, 06, 07, and then really got after it after there. Once I found out I was going to go play, junior college baseball, I was in the weight room every single day with our coach, our strength coach there, and just trying to find a way. I'm 5'10", not a big stature, and I got to find a way to be as fast as I can, to be as powerful as I can. And I wasn't really that quick or fast or agile when I was younger. I just wasn't blessed with it. So I had to find the weight room, and I had to find out how to get myself faster. So I was always asking questions to our strength coach back when I was in junior college in 08 and 09. And after that, then I actually went through, and before the summer before I graduated, I actually had a rotator cuff injury that I got playing wiffle ball. I jumped up, dove over my head, landed, and just had a minor dislocation, had some cuff tear, some small cuff tear. But I had a buddy that worked at the time for the Syracuse Crunch. He was a PT for them. And I had helped out with their equipment guys, and I'd grown some relationships in that organization, helping out at some local hockey camps. And I was asking him what I should do, how to rehab it. And I started hanging out with him a little bit, going over to his clinic, getting some help. And he said, you have two choices. You can either get it surgically repaired, which doesn't always come with great results, or you can try to strength train it and see if you can help it that way and repair it, and try to just build up strength so that doesn't happen again. I went the latter route, and I kind of hung out with him and got some physical therapy sessions going. And I really appreciated the work that went into that side of health and performance, of, kind of rehabilitation. And that's kind of where it sparked my curiosity. If I can keep myself healthy by way of, rehab type exercises, and then I can strengthen my body up, and I can get myself ready to play college baseball. And that's what I did. So then I ended up playing, rehabbing by myself with him, on some side work, and then went to college, played, did very well first year and a half. And then I, like I said, took that route to hockey, and just hung around the weight room for the organizations that I went to. I really, really enjoyed living in the weight room. And I know it's, everybody says that I lived in the weight room, but you didn't find me doing anything else. And when I was in Bakersfield playing junior hockey, I was just me and my buddy, a couple of our line mates at the gym working out. We'd be at the gym for probably 3 to 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours a day, play basketball, lift weights, go in the sauna, do whatever, we could, and just kind of hung around there. And it kind of grew on me there. And I really enjoyed because I wasn't skilled. I wasn't the goal scorer. I wasn't someone that could put the puck in the net, but I was someone that could work really hard. And I just had the engine that wouldn't stop, running through guys, playing the physical game, knowing guys that are going to come after you and try to hit you. So I had to have, what John likes to call, the body armor strength, and making sure I could take a hit. So I was I actually, at one point, I think I was like I'm 5'10". I think I was 195 when I was playing hockey. Very, very heavy. Wasn't fast, could hit a guy. So it kind of played to my strength, making sure that I was in shape and I could really take the demands and stress of the impact of hockey. And then again, hit a baseball when everybody talks about having, lean mass. Like I had to build up enough mass to be able to hit a baseball hard, not being, so long and so lanky to have big, long levers. So really found the passion and the love, like I said, back in 2005, 2006, and then ran with it from there.
That's cool. Yeah, it's cool to hear all those things, because like knowing how you kind of structure and work with a lot of the clientele that you end up getting, like at BBT, like a lot of the rehab stuff that you ended up working on your own rotator cuff, and a lot of that manual therapy and all those kind of what most people would kind of see as like physical therapy or rehab techniques, like you find a way to really integrate them already into like your strength training work with a lot of the pitchers, a lot of the overhead athletes, the volleyball players, things like that, which I think really plays dividends to why a lot of them end up working as hard as they can, because they're just available all the time and they're able to stay like playing their sport, their sport of choice all the time because of the work that you kind of put in. I know you've done mentorships with like Cressey, and then like from your time kind of doing your own rehab and everything, and like living in the weight room as a junior college or junior hockey. Like how have you kind of taken all those things and all those bits and pieces to kind of structure what you do at Bullett Performance now?
Yeah. So a little bit through my own, we had the standard band, you got your external rotation, just standing with your elbow at the side. Some of the stuff we learned from Cressey, and I think I have every single one of his webinars and continuing education modules, and his business partner back in the day, Mike Reinhold. I really just dove into books, webinars, just to gain as much information as I could on how he was so successful. And when I say he, Eric Cressey, how Eric Cressey's been so successful on his baseball players and his business, dealing with all those baseball players that come out of Tommy John, that come out of rehab, that come from shoulder impingements or anything like that. Really just finding ways that they were so successful on implementing some of the shoulder care, arm care stuff that everybody likes to call it. We found ways to just put them in the program so it wasn't like you're standing there doing, 2 sets of 10, 3 sets of 10 of just standard. We found ways to kind of implement them into the training program that was efficient. And then it kind of built in some active rest. While we're doing heavy lifts, we like to implement some cuff work, whether it's timing of the cuff and scapular stabilizers, whether we're working on something like a heavy trap bar deadlift or an RDL or something like that that's going to be very lat dominant. We like to utilize exercises that are going to basically lengthen the lat and kind of work against shortening the lat. Finding ways to put those in the program were very beneficial for us, because at the same time, you would have to go schedule a physical therapy session, drive across town or set up another session where we can start to implement it right in the training program, and then kind of kill two birds with one stone, build some strength as far as, functional strength for the body. And then now we're building up some direct isolated cuff work into the program, which, leads to kids, having healthier shoulders, healthier arms with the amount of throws that they make. Guys go into spring training, and that's typically where you see a lot of the injuries, as far as cuff injuries or, scapular injuries or anything like that. You'll see an elevated rate of injury there. I think just because a lot of the training programs out there, people will just make it, very bilateral heavy. They want to lift, they want to get strong, they want to do, very dominant, lat dominant exercises where they're not really working on that isolation of the cuff that we, like to utilize in some, I would say, tedious ways into our program.
I like it. I know you, like, at the same time, you still do bring in-house like physical therapists and massage therapists. And like, I know you talked to me a little bit off camera too, like working on expanding and having pitching coaches and hitting coaches available too. Like there's so many pieces that you've brought into the gym and like brought into the training environment, but at the same time, you're still taking some of those pieces and actually implementing in there, so you don't have to set up and schedule all these things, even though you do have the resources available. So how do you kind of choose like what resources that you actually want to utilize within the athletes, and then like for like kind of as a toolbox, but also at the same time, how do you make sure that for like some of your youth athletes and younger athletes that might not necessarily need such specialized protocols or rehab like training, they kind of just need the meat and potatoes at the very beginning. How do you make sure that they aren't just trying to copy what some of your professional and college level athletes are doing?
Sure. Yeah. That's a big thing, especially now with social media, and they see guys doing, some sort of drill or exercise or anything like that. They want to just say, hey, I want to repeat that. And to answer your first question on physical therapists and, any manual therapists that we bring in, I do some homework first. I usually like to bring them in, talk about their philosophies, their principles, their methods, and just basically have a conversation with them, go through some of it myself. If you're a chef in a kitchen, you're going to try your food before you dish it out to someone else. So it's very important that, we bring in the right people with the right philosophies that are aligned with us. Again, they can be differentiating, and there's different methods and ways to get a job done. But we want to make sure that we're aligning ourselves and we're referring our patients to the correct physical therapist that can take care of the job and that has good experience doing it too. So we usually set up some meetings, and we kind of interject them into our staff meetings. So our interns and our staff here, we go through weekly meetings, and we like to set it up so that the practitioner can come in and talk about their methods, talk about their theories, and how they get certain outcomes to take place with their rehab methods or protocols. And then we start to apply them to our programs. Now, if it's someone that's a pro guy that we have, and he's got some shoulder issues going on, we take an eval of that athlete, and then usually what I'll do is I'll reach out to that physical therapist and kind of or let them know what our diagnosis was, what we found in our eval, and then start to I would say brainstorm some methods and protocols to go forward with, making sure we're taking care of that guy's arm or shoulder or elbow, whatever the issue is. And then from our younger guys, you and I both know that good quality total body training and good quality strength training and proper strength training is kind of the best arm care, right? Our idea of arm care is to dissipate the stress and share the stress over the body, and not just rely on the arm. So that's for our young guys. It's important that we explain to them and show them that those guys that are the pro guys that they see that might be training right next to them, that are doing some special type exercise or a more complex variation, that they went through those same processes too when they were younger. We wanted to make sure that they dominated and were able to complete the basics of movement: squatting, lunging, pushing, pulling, etc. Those are all different variations. It's just a different way of getting there. For our younger guys, it's showing them that you'll eventually get there, but there's a certain process that we have to go through, and we have to check certain boxes to make sure that you're doing that. You're in the best possible situation you can be as a younger athlete, and eventually, we can get to things like they may be seeing a pro guy do or something like that. But there's, just like anything, you got to crawl before you walk and run, and doing the basics for us is crawling.
Exactly. I probably literally as well too.
Yeah, seriously.
It's a lot harder to think about that, like in the private sector, thinking that you work with clientele that go like stretch all the way from youth athletes to professional athletes, and you house them in the same facility. And a lot of times some of them are kind of overlapping training at certain points in time. So it is a very tall task to be able to like convince a younger athlete that looks up to someone that's coming in that is in the spot that they hope and dream of being in one day, but kind of taking them down a peg and making sure that they understand that there's a systematic approach to what you're actually doing in your training, and that necessarily what the professional guys are doing right now isn't exactly what's needed for them. But that's a hard thing to do. And I know you've found different ways to kind of educate a lot of either the parents of the youth and the high school athletes, like from the night with the pros, that I know that I was lucky to be a part of and come and help speak. And you had a lot of great other like people come on that are kind of all the people that are involved in the process of BPT. So I think those are great tools to be able to try to educate the athletes, especially the younger ones, to realize that there's a step approach to where those guys are at now, and that you don't need to skip steps. And it's good to see that from the private sector, because a lot of the guys that you end up dealing with are the ones that I see in college. So it's nice to not have them so messed up when they get to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a tough task. I mean, you got to think, obviously, like I said earlier, with social media now, everybody sees everything. You know, we see everything, whether it's good, whether it's bad. And I try to just tell our coaches and our kids, you know, there's a filter for a reason, right? And we have to use our filter, and we have to understand that what we're doing here with you, whether you're a young athlete or even a high school athlete that might be working on the basics right now, and they look over and they see another high school athlete that may have been training with us for 4 years, he might say, well, hey, why am I not doing that? Why am I not deadlifting, or sorry, why am I not squatting with the bar, and I've got a dumbbell in my hand? You know, why can't I do what he does? And it's all part of the process. And I think getting our kids and our athletes and clients to understand that it's not that there's many ways to get there. There's many methods, right? And principles for us have to be few, because the principles are, you know, again, we want to do no harm. You know, that's the first and foremost thing. And if we're putting a kid under a bar that may not be best suited for that, and he might, you know, best be suited with a dumbbell right now just to learn the movement, that's our way of making sure we do no harm. And we really voice that to the kids and the clients that we come across every day, that it's not about today. It's not about how much, you know, it's not about what he's doing next to you or what he or she's doing next to you. It's about what you're doing, and you got to be where your feet are. I always tell them, you know, you got to lock into what you're doing. And no matter what, if you have a 45-pound dumbbell in your hand, or if you have a 45-pound bar, they're the same thing. It's just different loading parameters. So, and that's kind of what we have a conversation with all of our clients. And I think we do a pretty good job of it as far as our coaches go. And really our coaches understanding, right? Understanding why we do things a certain way, so that when our young coaches do get to the collegiate level, they're already prepared to go in and already know what the right or the wrong, or maybe not right or wrong, you know, what a better way of going about it is, or what a smarter way might be. So.
Right. No, I love it. I couldn't agree more. I kind of want to backtrack too a little bit, like getting close to like coaching and like kind of transitioning out of like your professional hockey career. What like really sparked your interest to actually open up your own business? I know, like you said, Cressey was a mentor of yours and kind of following his model, but like it's a tall task to be able to just open up your own facility. And I know from the time that you guys opened in 2016, like there's been a lot of changes. And like you said, we were talking before, there's even more changes kind of in the process, and staff turnover and all those stuff like that. But how did like Bullett Performance Training like really come about? And what were you really trying to accomplish starting like this facility?
Sure. Yeah. Really, when I came out of professional hockey, I moved to Fresno with my girlfriend at the time. We found out, you know, that she was pregnant. We were going to have a baby boy. So I ended up packing the skates up, and I remember going to the rink, and I was sitting there in the office, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I don't even know what I'm going to do in my life. You know, I went through 3.5, 4 years of giving everything, you know, giving hockey my all to try to make something of it. And I just felt kind of defeated. And I'm like, well, you know, I could start teaching, right? I really loved the hockey lesson type, you know, getting out on the ice, still being in the sport. And I started to get a couple of kids, like the youth hockey players there at the rink. And they were asking me, you know, what I could do, you know, what can we do to get stronger? What can I do to get stronger? And I was like, well, what did I do? You know, I went in the weight room and took care of my body. I ate well. You know, I went and trained, you know, 3 to 5 times a week, sometimes 6 times a week. And I said, well, what if I just took you to the gym with me one day and started doing that? And then I was taking kids to GB3, the local commercial gym here. And they were just kind of working out next to me. And that's kind of where it sparked. And I'm like, well, maybe I can work kind of double. I can take kids to the gym and I can train them, and I can work with them on the ice, and be able to teach them on both sides, not only the skill side of things, but the physical and the strength quality and all of that allow the skills to show a little bit more. So I ended up getting mixed up with a former Fresno State Bulldog, Paris Gaines, and we started working together out of a small building, very 2,400 square foot. And piece by piece, just started putting equipment in the gym. Just bought a couple of dumbbells, a couple of sets of dumbbells, a bar, some plates, and just started taking kids there and consistently started building. I was teaching kids on the ice, and being able to get in the gym with them was really starting to turn their skill side of things a little bit better. Right? They were able to make sharper cuts. They were able to skate a little bit harder, skate a little bit faster. Their shot was getting a little bit harder, and they were seeing the success, and I was too. And that's when I said, well, maybe there's something here for me. And I kind of just dove in from there and really started just putting in, week after week, day after day work into understanding the body, knowing how, anatomy and physiology work, looking at biomechanics, just looking at the systems of the body and how they all correlate with each other. And then from there, it just kind of turning into a really big passion that I started to develop, because originally I went to school to be a cop, and then once I got hurt, I started diving more into how the body works, more of the strength training process. So then I just started client after client, kids were coming in. Luckily, I got this one baseball player here from Buchanan, and he came in and he was an absolute monster way before even me. He's just big guy, I think he was like 6'1", 6'2" as a freshman in high school. And he was just an absolute beast on the field. He was throwing like high 80s even before I saw him. And then his second year, I think he was hitting like 90, 91 as a sophomore. As a junior, he was up 92-ish. And then as a senior, he was throwing, 92, 94. And kids started seeing that. And once I started working with some baseball players, I started looking at, like I said, Cressey, and learning on how I just started researching, baseball research, baseball into Google, and started to come across Eric Cressey, started to come across guys like Zach Daycamp from TCU. Those coaches really started to come up a lot. And I started to follow what they did, how they approached their training, how they approached, their exercise selection. You started to see that, some of the baseball coaches like that were staying away from the cleans. They were staying away from a lot of Olympic exercises due to the stress on the wrist, the elbow, and the shoulder. And that's where we started to just, I'd say, formulate my game plan on how to approach training for our athletes. And then it just evolved, obviously from 2016, early 17, when I got in here into the facility that we're at now. It was very slow. We moved in here and we only had, I think, like 13 clients, and we were in this 5,000 square foot facility, and it was just hard work, trying to learn the business side of things. And I really thought to myself, I'm like, I got a chance here to be able to develop a training facility that not only could be profitable, but something that I could make it a career and start to create a life that I wanted to live, also with positively affecting people, not just athletes, but young kids and adults, middle-aged people like myself that were done playing sports, that still wanted to, train aggressively and safely. So then that's where I really said, and I got something here, and just started to dive in on how to, be a business owner, how business actually worked. And, things just grew. One person, started talking to the next. And, like I said, that baseball player, everybody was looking at him because he was a highly regarded pitcher. And kids just were asking, where's he training? And I was just always out there supporting. And I think that really helped my business growth, was being out to the games, going to support the kids, talking to the parents, and getting out there and kind of putting myself out there. I think that really helped our business grow to where it is now.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think we met a few years ago, and I've always been open. Like, I know some people in college setting are not real keen about their athletes going and training somewhere else, even though like we're giving out summer programs and winter programs. And I've been in the complete opposite mindset. If you're going to train somewhere, I'm open to talking to those coaches. I'm opening to like trying to find a blend. I'm honestly open to wherever they're working to be the program that they're doing, as long as they're prepared and they understand the expectations when they return to the school and return to college, that this is what you're going to be expected to do. So regardless of what program you're doing, like these are the requirements we have. But yeah, if there's a qualified coach there, you have trust in that person in the off season, I want you to go and do those things. And I know that like within the community now, like it started, like I know it's starting to grow a lot. A lot of Fresno athletes from all realms were coming over to you guys, not just baseball and softball athletes too, which speaks a lot to what you were doing. And I think it started a lot when you were working with the hockey players and not only doing stuff on the ice and the skill development, because that's really what athletes want to do. They want to be able to perform better at their sport. But when you show them how that they can train and it impacts their sport, and you're able to see kind of both, or you're going to games and you can see how their training impacts what they're doing on the field, I mean, that exponentially just increases like their buy-in and how committed they are to training after that. And I think it's cool to see, like, not to harp on it again, but to see that the youth athletes all the way up to the pro athletes like training together so that they can see kind of what that development process looks like under one roof, which I think is the coolest part about it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was something where in the past, even when I got going, we weren't the semi-private model that we are now. We did have group training. We used to have dedicated times to train. So our younger kids would train, call it 3:30 to 4:30. And then we'd have our high school athletes train 4:30 to 5:30, and then our adults. And it was kind of segregated, right? It was, and they would walk by each other in the lobby here. It wouldn't be a hi, it wouldn't be a hello. And again, at the time, I only was one person running a business and training at the same time. So it wasn't like I could have multiple groups. And I just didn't understand that facet of the private sector of strength training in a performance facility. And then once I was able to accumulate some coaches and some staff, we were able to develop and kind of mold it into this semi-private model that we are now. And we really encourage our pro guys. We really encourage our young guys just to go say hi and talk. And even some of our adults now are lifting right next to some of the young high school kids, and they're chatting and kind of, clapping and high-fiving after one of our adults just benched 300 for the first time the other day. And we had the high school kids going in there, fist bumping them, pounding them, and high-fiving and all that, and hooting and hollering. And that's cool. That's a special thing, that when you've got pro guys in here training next to youth, because they're going to look at them and they're going to say, wow, like that's, and then they said hi to me. They said hi. They asked how I was doing. They asked how I was playing, how sports was going, how baseball was going. And when you can couple that into a training environment, it creates the family and environment, right? It creates that family kind of feel. And that's what I really loved as we were able to start to transition into that semi-private, is everybody was here collectively going towards, betterment and progress. And it wasn't, one group and the other group were different. And, they were different kind of time slots to where they couldn't, mingle and whatnot. So that was something that kind of just organically molded into itself. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely cool to see as a spectator, like an outside perspective coming in to see. And I can definitely tell that like that environment like kind of happened naturally. And it's cool to see you kind of reinforce it though. And I forget about it too. But after professional, like you talked about, like the post career, like there is a life after professional sports too. So I think subtly it's cool. Like you said, the guy that just benched 300 pounds for the first time, he's not playing sports. He's working towards his own sort of progress. But I think that's cool for like the youth athletes and the young athletes and even the college and professional ones to see, because I'd hope that like my college athletes, if they don't play professionally, at least they do something and stay healthy and active after their career. So it's cool to have people come to the gym and set their own manageable goals individually and still be training in that sports performance kind of mindset in that environment.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. you see a lot right now, especially with all the mental health stuff that's going on. And, after a player is done playing whatever sport they're in, what now, right? How do I still stay competitive in my life of not only lifting, but goal setting, So as an athlete, it's all about yourself and what can I do to get myself to a championship and the earnings that, some of these guys are making now. And then once that's all done, and you don't have any cleats to put on again, or you don't have any skates to put on or anything like that, what do you do? How do you stay competitive? Because that's all you've known. That's all you've done for the past, however many years you've been playing sports. And, if you're in college, 4 to 5 years, and high school, 4 years, so that's 8 to 10 years of serious competitive work day in and day out, that now you get to the real life after sport. And you're like, what do I actually do now? What keeps you going? Because that competitiveness and that desire to want more, all of a sudden, now it has to shift from winning games and competing to starting to be, someone in society. And, that's not as exciting to some people. So
it's a big shift. It's a big shift for sure. And I know between like running your own business, owning a business, trying to expand, training clients and coaching and everything, like after your career, how have you been able to kind of shift your training too? Because that sets a really good example for the athletes that are in there as well. So I know you're busy, but what's your program kind of looking like now? How are you able to stay active too?
Yeah. So I've got some guys that I've actually reached out to give me some programs to just kind of spice things up, because I'm writing, I don't know how many programs a day, something over like 100 programs a month, individual programs. So it does take a lot of time and effort. And sometimes I'm like, I don't even want to write my own program. So I've actually gone out and found some guys to write my program for me. And I've had some fun with it. I still train 6 to 7 days a week. Not lifting every day, movement days on a couple of days just to get some kind of athleticism and fun. I'll go out and play some softball, men's league softball. I haven't in a while, just because the schedule has changed, but I played some adult league hockey. I've been golfing recently, pretty avidly, a couple times a week. We've got we got a few pro golfers in here that I've gone out with a couple of times, and they've kind of, again, that's the competitor in me. I'm trying to play with them when they're shooting, par and below, and I'm, maybe 6 to 8 to 10 strokes above par. And that's where I'm like, okay, I'm going to get better at hockey, or I'm going to get better at golf. That's kind of where my competitive nature comes in. And I still get in here, and I'll during the day, I'll sometimes lift with some of the guys and make it fun. And I'll go out there with our clients and lift in the middle of the day if we've got enough staff on the floor, just so they can see that, I'm not just some business owner that sits back and collects money. I'm getting after it still too. And I'm competing against myself, trying to stay healthy, trying to stay fit, and trying to be able to be an athlete still too. Because again, if I'm playing golf, and you got to be able to be athletic and rotate and move a little bit. Again, men's league hockey and softball, those are all fun, and just kind of getting out there and hanging with the boys, having that locker room talk again. Those are all fun things that I try to do to kind of keep me sane, I'd say.
There you go. Yeah, those are the things that I think people miss the most after their career too. The training's fun, but like post game, like chirping on the benches.
Yeah, the locker room stuff. I always tell. So like even the hockey team, we actually had a conversation yesterday about it. I usually open up with a little talk, just to kind of get them going. A little rah talk. And we've got 3 weeks off right now. They've got 3 weeks off, and I told them, I said, don't let the competitiveness fall off. Right? Don't take this 3 weeks for granted. Sit back, relax. Right? You're not playing. You don't have games. So what's there to train for? And I said, make the moment now. Right? You guys are I was in your shoes one day, and I really took advantage of some things, and maybe I didn't work as hard every single day. Maybe I didn't compete every single day, but one day you're going to be done with sports, and this particular sport is hockey. You're not going to be able to sit in the locker room next to your buddies and talk to each other the way you guys do. You're not going to be able to walk into the rink in the morning, a freezing rink, a cold rink, and walk into the locker room and, shoot the shit with some guys. And one day that's going to end. And I hope you guys understand that after that, like, you're going to look back and say, I hope you don't, but you're going to look back and say, man, I didn't really enjoy the locker room over anything. The games are fun. Obviously the games are out there competing and scoring and hitting, shooting, passing, celebrating with your teammates. But the biggest thing that I think I look back and I really missed and took it for granted was the locker room. And I'm willing to bet most of the athletes that are done playing right now would say the same thing. Cause that was a special time that, there's just nothing like it. The locker room, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, for sure. Traveling,
another good one.
Hanging out. Those are all great things. That's what I miss the most, for sure. Hey, so
bus rides, airplane. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Fun stuff.
Hey, with that like competitive edge that you have, like for training, kind of missing all that stuff too. Like, how do you kind of keep an edge on the business side? Because obviously, like, the coaching side is really fun, and that's what we both enjoy to do. And I know with like staff turnover and stuff, like, at the end of the day, for you as the business owner, the buck stops with you. So you still have to kind of stay pretty abreast of how to run a business, even if you can delegate most of like the financial stuff. But for you, like, how do you kind of continue to sharpen the edge, and like, what are some of your good resources like on the business side that have kind of helped you since starting BBT?
Yeah. For me, trying to keep an edge on the business side of things is just like it was with playing sports. I want to be the best business out here. I want to be the best business in the Valley. I want to be the best gym there is. I want people to come into this Valley and say, hey, if you guys move in, or if it's an athlete coming into Fresno State, someone saying, if you guys are free and you've got more time, maybe in right now we've got Christmas coming up, go hit up Bullett Performance Training. That place is great. They've got a great environment. They've got great coaches over there. That's what you want. You want to be the best. And right now, that's kind of where I look. I want to be the best gym in the Valley first. And when I can do that, then we can start looking at, more like nationwide stuff in East Coast West Coast and whatnot. But I strive to be what everybody talks about, and not because I want the fame or I want the recognition, but again, that's my competitive nature. I want our staff to be the best. I really encourage our staff to continue learning. I encourage our staff, just because my name's on the building doesn't mean you guys can't reap rewards or benefits. You guys can start to build your own platform and your own identity in our business and in my gym, right? And it's not just my gym. And I tell everybody this, that anybody calls in and they're like, hey, can we get an eval with you? And I've got 3 to 4 other strength coaches on staff that are better than me at some areas. And that's what we really look to do is I like to put people around me that are better than me in other areas that maybe I'm not so good at. And that's kind of what you looked at for building a team. Obviously the quarterback's good decision maker. The lineman's good at blocking. So I try to find people and coaches that are really good at other unique aspects, right? So football is not something like, I know football. I know I've played it. I love to watch it, so I'd say I have pretty good game awareness. But however, coaching football and looking at the actual in-game experiences, like I know for hockey and baseball, we have coaches on our staff that played football at West Hills, and that gives us a really good up on anybody that comes in that says, I've got my son's a football player. Well, great. We've got one that played at college. He'd be a really good fit. He can tell you, kind of the football life in college, and you're going to, he's going to eval you today. And then, now it's not me, it's our other coaches. There's no Bullett Performance without our coaches. And I really, really pride myself on trying to deliver a great experience and good education and experience from our coaches. But for us and for Bullett Performance, as far as business building resources, I looked at things, obviously books are great. I've got a whole stack of books at home. I've got a whole stack of books here that talk about the business side of things. Off the top of my name, there's a book checklist. There's the E-Myth that I've gone back to. I'm reading one on marketing right now, just to try to sharpen that sword for me. Those are things that I'm not the best at, and I strive to get better. But there's some things that even Eric Cressey's group has put out, himself and Pete Dupuis, his business partner, as far as business building mentorships. There's a couple that Alwyn Cosgrove has come out with. He's got the Results U. So it's more on the business side of things. So just as much as there's books out there to get better at the training and the X's and O's, there's a ton of resources out there that I try to get my hands on learning, how to be a better business owner, and not only a business owner, but a better leader as well. So, now when you think of yourself as a coach, you're responsible for more, but ultimately, when you do own and open a business, you're not responsible for everybody on your staff and everything that they have with them. So, any problems, any issues that are going home with them or that are going on at home with them, those become my problem. And I got to make sure that my staff knows that if they need someone to talk to, or if they need to have a closed door conversation, and that I'm here to help them in any way possible, not just give them a job or give them a gym to train at, but be a reliable source that I can spend some time and dive into their personal life too. I try to really predicate myself on being someone that is available, to them, just, more than being someone to just write them a paycheck and give them a gym to train. And that's something that I really pride myself on.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, you have to wear a lot of hats, even more so. I think, like, in the coaching realm, everybody knows that a lot of coaches have to wear a lot of hats, but I mean, you have to be pretty well balanced. And like you said, you rattled off so many books and so many, not even just books and like different resources, but ones in completely different categories. Like you're the CEO of the company, you're the coach, you're a leader, you're a teacher, you're a mentor, like on top of being the business owner and everything. Like, it really does, like, your name is on the building, but you empower your staff, you empower the people around you, but you still have to have your hand in everything and have to be a little bit, at least knowledgeable in everything a little bit, because everything happens under the roof for you. Yeah. So that's cool to kind of hear all the different things that you're kind of working on, because it's what eventually makes Bullett Performance Training and makes you the coach you are, to kind of house all those things together and bring all those things to your clients and your athletes. So that's cool to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so I know you got to run pretty soon. So, like any good training session, we end the show with a good finisher. So I got 4 quarters, 4 questions, and then we'll go overtime at the very end. But you can go as quick as you want and go rapid fire, or you could take your time on them. But you ready?
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
All right, first one I got for you. Biggest influence in strength conditioning and favorite hockey player growing up?
Oh, do they have to be the same?
No.
Okay. I'd say my biggest influence is, probably Eric Cressey. I love the way that he goes about his business, and he goes about his personal life too. Not that I know of, but doesn't say a bad thing about anybody. Always positive. From the outside looking in, even from being with him a few times, just seems like a truly great person, and something I'd like to eventually, not replicate or be just like him, but something in that direction. He's a really good person. I think just even outside training facility and all of that, and still he gets after it. I mean, the guy's deadlifting freaking 600 and something pounds, 700 pounds. Dude's an animal. So I'd say that's my biggest influencer in weightlifting and strength and conditioning. As far as hockey, I was always a fan of back in the day. I mean, guys like Derek Bugard, guys like Cam Jansen. They're not big name guys. They're not the Wayne Gretzky's. They're not the Mario Lemieux, but they're guys that just were workhorses. They got after it. They were in your face every day. That's kind of how I was as a player. I was the one chirping in your face, running guys to the board, making a difference on the ice as far as the physicality and the intimidation factor goes. That was kind of, those are my guys. I mean, guys like that, Dustin Brown is another one that I like from the Kings right now. Just fun guys to watch.
Oh yeah. I love those guys. I think Sean Avery is
another one. Yeah.
Donald Brashear,
all the big guys.
Tom Wilson, all the fourth line, just grungy guys. Those are my favorite.
Those are the guys. Those are the guys that you walk into the, like, I was the guy like that. What, you walk in the arena, and then it was, if you were playing against me, guys like, what's he doing today? Right? Well, who's he going after? Who's he going to fight today? Who's he taking on? Usually my coach would try to pair me up with some of their skill guys and get out there and just get in their face and try to rattle them a little bit, so they had to look over their shoulder and they couldn't make some of the skill plays that they normally would make. Like, that was fun for me. So
there you go. Hate to play against, love to play with. That's
right. That's
the best. Hey, so next one I got for you. What can you be found doing when you're not coaching or training? I know you got a lot of stuff going on, but what are some of the hobbies when you're outside of the gym walls?
Yeah. Like I said, golf is one. My biggest one is when I get the time. My son. I have an 8-year-old son, and that's really what I like to do. And we live pretty far apart from each other. But when I've got him, I try to maximize my time and take him out to the golf course and let him hit some balls. And, I'm out teaching him how to swing a bat, throw a football, kick a soccer ball. Those are the best times. So I'd say when my 8-year-old son's the majority of the time outside.
All right. Hey, if you weren't coaching, what profession do you think you would be in? And if you could go professional in a sport other than hockey, which sport would you pick?
I would say if I wasn't a business owner in strength and conditioning, I'd law enforcement, some sort of law enforcement. And then, probably baseball. I'd say that.
I should have guessed those two. All right. Hey, so if you're setting up an ideal training day for you, what is your go-to training music or PR song? And what's your post-training meal look like?
Ooh. Training songs, probably going to be Du Hast by Rammstein. And then post meal, it's, probably just a simple chicken, rice, maybe some veggies, some broccoli. That's always my go-to here in the fridge.
Keep it simple. All right.
Keep it simple.
Last one I got for you. Favorite either under the bar memory or on ice memory, or favorite coaching memory?
Ooh. I'd say on ice memory. That was when we won the Thorne Cup against the Boulder Bison back in 2010, winning it all. That was pretty special.
That's awesome. Hey man, well, I'm stoked to finally get you on the show. I promised I would never do it until I was out of Fresno. So yeah, it sucks to be out of there, but I'm glad we were able to get it going. So hey, for anybody that wants to kind of follow up with questions, kind of check out what you guys got going on at Bullett Performance Training or in the Fresno area, how can they get a hold of you and follow you?
Yeah, so we've got Bullett Gym on Instagram, same thing on Twitter. Facebook's the same. And then just hit us up on an email, bullettgym@gmail.com. Those are simple ways to get a hold of us. Any questions, we're here to help.
Awesome. Hey, well, Brandon, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. It's good to catch up, man, and see everything you got going on. I appreciate you taking the time today to get on.
Yeah, Nick, thanks a lot. And like I said, looking forward to talking today and then maybe in the future too.
For sure, man. Take care.
All right, bud. Take care.
That's it for this episode of The Strength Game. Thank you again to this week's guest and to our sponsors, Cerberus Strength. Be sure to connect and keep up with our guests at the links in the description below. Remember to subscribe to us on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast provider to stay up to date on all future episodes. Also, check us out on YouTube and CoachO'Brien.com, where you can find all the video versions of these episodes, as well as show notes, episode schedule, and much more. Comments, ratings, and reviews are always welcome and appreciated. Thanks again for tuning in, and be sure to join us next week for another great episode of The Strength Game.